Vice President Kamala Harris has the Democratic nomination sewn up at this point as of today. She also has $310 million in new donations raised in July alone, plus Biden's war chest. And there's one thing left here, a running mate. Few names are in the mix, starting with the Govs right here: Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Tim Walz, Minnesota, Andy Beshear, Kentucky, and J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Plus, you also have Arizona Senator Mark Kelly and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, all in the mix. Each brings something a little different, a little baggage. So who will it be? Who's smartest? We know a few guys we can ask. Stephen Reed, the mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, and a Harris campaign surrogate, and Svante Myrick, president of the progressive advocacy group People for the American Way, as well as the former mayor of Ithaca, New York. Gentlemen, I know you know each other. Thank you for being here. Let me start with you, Mayor Reed. Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, seems like the most obvious choice at this point. High approvals, most important swing state. Is he the guy?
You know, I think that all of them are the guys. I mean, just the fact that they have made it this far, I think shows what they have done in their states and what so many of their voters and residents think about the job that they've done. I think when you look at Governor Shapiro, certainly he has an outstanding record, but you see that among a lot of the governors on that list, as well as Senator Kelly and certainly Secretary Buttigieg. So, you know, the vice president, has a great option here. I don't think there's a lose scenario in this case. It's just a matter of who she's comfortable with and who she thinks complements her strengths on the ticket and certainly governing.
And apparently her team has met with a few people, including Shapiro, Buttigieg, and others. Now she's meeting with people. Mr. Myrick, I want to stick on Josh Shapiro because he is really the one at the top of the list, it seems. He is Jewish. He would be a first in American history. And some progressives, they call him Genocide Josh for his support of Israel. But, you know, he has called Netanyahu one of the worst leaders of all time, defending Israel's right to self-defense, but also the importance of civilian lives. And that's pretty well in line with mainstream Democrats. Is he being subjected to a double standard because he's Jewish?
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, so much of what you see on Twitter and online, is that really the progressive line? Is that really what people think? Or is it just a few people trying to create an echo chamber? Is it even psyop from other countries trying to create divisions within the Democratic Party? I don't think it's a big deal. In fact, you know, President Harris is married to a Jewish man. They living in the Naval Observatory, that is the vice president's equivalent at the White House. They have, for the first time in American history, put a mezuzah outside the door of the Naval Observatory. Doug, the second gentleman, has said he'd put a mezuzah outside the White House. So I don't think there's any fear of the fact that Governor Shapiro is Jewish, and I don't think it works in his favor either. I think what works in his favor is he's a proven executive and who is popular in a swing state. Unlike J.D. Vance, who's not only unproven and not an executive, but is unpopular in his own state. So I agree with Mayor Reed, which is unsurprising. I often agree with Mayor Reed. Vice President Harris has a lot of good choices and a lot of good people that she can choose amongst.
Real quick, Mayor Reed, one more thing on Josh Shapiro. There is a concern that progressives could stay home. And, I mean, you've won elections. You know how this all works. Would they really refuse to elect the first black, female, Asian-American president because her running mate's particulars on Israel?
I don't want to take anyone's, opinion for granted and say that they wouldn't. I think certainly if the vice president were to choose Governor Shapiro, I'm sure they would have the conversations needed with those constituencies that are concerned about their positions. And they both have a great way of communicating. They're both outstanding leaders. And I don't think that would be an issue on the back end of it. Now, you may have some of that out there. And again, I agree with Svante in the sense of some of this is to cause discord, if you will, some disruption to what has been just monumental energy over the last couple of weeks. But I have the full confidence that certainly the vice president and her team, as well as Governor Shapiro, were he chosen, would be able to have those conversations with progressives to understand what their priorities are and how they can work together, not only to beat Donald Trump, but also to make sure that they are governing in a way that benefits all Americans.
I don't want to ignore everybody else. So, Mr. Myrick, what about the other guys reportedly still in the hunt? You have Senator Mark Kelly. He's a blue darling. A lot of people on the Hill, they really want him. You have Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, shot to prominence during the process. Where do they land?
Gosh, it's amazing the depth of talent, charisma, and experience that we have on the Democratic side right now. Mark Kelly is an astronaut whose wife, Gabby Giffords, a proud Cornell alum, I have to throw that in, heroic survival of a tragic gun attack would bring the issue of gun control, which is on the front of mind for a lot of young voters, right to the fore. You also have Governor Walz, who in a purple state has accomplished a lot of tremendous things that have lifted up the middle class and taken care of those who have the least. You also have somebody who is, I must say, is my personal favorite as a mayor. Mayor Pete Buttigieg served as mayor of South Bend, Indiana, while I was the mayor of Ithaca. He was only 27 when he was elected, which to me was a little old, as I was 24 when I was elected. But even still, he is a foot and a half taller than anybody I've ever, or a foot and a half smarter than anybody I've ever met. I mean, he truly, despite his humility, is one of the sharpest people on the planet. And and a tremendous communicator, by the way. So they all have strengths. I think they could all excite not only our base, but also broaden our base. I know the vice president is meeting with them one-on-one. They've all passed the vetting. So they're meeting this weekend. She will get a sense of who she has chemistry with, and she'll make a choice.
And then you'll stand behind her. I got it. So we have 45 seconds, Mayor Reed. Let's end with this. Two of those names I wanted to ask you about. J.B. Pritzker, a billionaire, but he's from True Blue, Illinois. Pete Buttigieg, he's gay. He'd be a first, but also most analysts don't expect an all-minority ticket. Why boost those names? Are they trying to send a signal to, the gay community and also donors who they hope to get money from?
No, I think this is really about, again, the talent that Svante mentioned that we have in the Democratic Party. It is that bench that exists among governors, those who are on the Hill, and even mayors across this country. So I think it really is about looking at different strengths that these leaders bring and the different opportunities they would have to they might not feel the strongest connection to right now. So that's the great thing about being a Big Tent party is you have these type of options. And again, I think it's a lose situation, and I'm looking forward to whoever she picks and getting in line to support them.
Yeah, and I will say that, Mayor Pete, he might be gay, but we should not underestimate the American voter. They want to know what you will do for them, and they will look past how you live your life, especially now in 2020. Especially if the other side, that is to say the conservative Republican side, can be baited into being even weirder and turning off more voters in the middle. That could be a strength for Mayor Pete.
Okay. Mayor Stephen Reed and Svante Myrick, thank you both. Good to chat with you. Ahead on the race.